The reason you're going into crowdfunding is to raise money. So 9 times out of 10, you won't have the capital to bring in the expertise that you need. So if you can't bring in the professional expertise that you need, what's second best to that is to educate yourself. So educating yourself through a service like yours is worth its weight in gold.
Welcome to Masterclass Talks, brought to you by Masterclass Crowdfunding.com. I'm David Johnson again, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you two very special guests for today's interview. Ashley Hribarcain and Matthew Aston Kane are design engineers based in Bristol here in the UK, and they have worked in the manufacturing industry for a number of years. As designers, they have a strong passion to innovate products where design has become stale and unchanged laterally in their existence. Together, Ashley and Matthew have launched two amazing projects recently on the reward-based crowdfunding platform Kickstarter, and both of these projects have smashed their targets. Magno, the world's first magnetically controlled pencil, was targeted at £10,000 but raised nearly £81,000 with over 2,000 individual backers. Their second project was Magno Ink Pen, and this reached its set target in just 90 minutes before going on to raise over £72,000, again from over 2,000 backers. We have managed to persuade Ashley and Matthew to come and meet masterclasscrowdfunding.com and to share their amazing story with us so that we can hear their remarkable success in crowdfunding. Welcome to Masterclass Talks, brought to you by masterclasscrowdfunding.com. Absolute pleasure, Matthew.
David,
and
pleasure.
Ashley.
Nice to meet you.
To have you here today. Thanks for joining us. Okay, so first of all, a little bit of your background, so where you're born, early life, just so we understand a bit about who you are and where you've come from.
Absolutely. So I was born in Colchester, lived there for a year, then grew up in Holland. So my first language was actually Dutch. My dad was actually an engineer similar to me, worked at the European Space Agency. And then when I was coming home and they couldn't understand me anymore, we had to move back to England. So after that, I lived in Yorkshire, and that was where my kind of eye for design really kicked in. So I'd always take apart my scale electrics cars and try and put them back together, take apart clocks, watch anything I could get my hands on. More often than not, they wouldn't go back together. So that was where my creativity kind of started.
Brilliant. Okay. What about yourself?
Yes, well, I'm a Bristol boy, born and bred, so I've always been in Bristol. So I started designing really at university. I felt like that was where I took my eye best. From there, I moved up to Buckinghamshire, so not a million miles from here. And then I went to work for Dyson. And actually, that's
where you two met at first. Then was working.
Yeah.
For Dyson?
So we we were working on the same team for a number of years, and then we were working on quite a small group within Dyson, working on new product innovation.
That must have been a tremendous sort of experience to be in that organisation and in that environment.
Really fantastic. I mean, I don't think we'd be sat here today without the experience that we had at Dyson. This kind of shaped our design philosophy and our real thirst for innovation and creating something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah, everything that we were encouraged to do, we kind of taken on with what we do now. So very much it was kind of, if you've got a design, go and make it, get on the mill, the lathe. That's the real learning curve, is actually making it yourself, understanding where to go from your mistakes. Without making mistakes, you're never going to get a well-refined product. So that's really we've taken that philosophy on ourselves.
Okay. And due to the success of your crowdfunding campaigns, you've now left Dyson and you're full-time manufacturing, designing products for crowdfunding campaigns.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic. So
incredible journey.
Yeah, I think as time goes on, there's going to be more and more people take that journey that you've
absolutely.
made.
It always seemed like the step after being in the design industry for a number of years was starting up a consultancy and actually working for other entrepreneurs that come in and trying to kind of nurse those projects through to manufacture. But actually having your own designs, your own concepts, and doing the whole thing from marketing, going over to China, we were working with the manufacturers, and then actually selling the product yourself. I mean, it's really rewarding. So.
The whole thing, yeah.
I think the journey as well, when we actually started when we were in full-time employment, so we started about 2 years ago, and we've been full-time 6 months. So that's a year and a half we were actually in employment, where we started with our first product, which was Magno, and that was just by spotting the kind of the flaws with the current pencils, and kind of went from there, developed it, launched in our spare time, evenings, weekends, and it's kind of snowballed from there.
Yeah, it's a success. So I know yourself, Matthew, you've now done 8 crowdfunding campaigns, I understand. So where have you first come across? Give me your first introduction to crowdfunding and what you thought about it.
I went to university in Cardiff, studied product design with mechanical engineering, and then my first job before Dyson was actually a small consumer electronics, it was actually a phone accessory company, and I was working on a product which was called the Gum Stick, and we kind of came up with this design. I was part of a small team, and they said, right, we're gonna launch this on Kickstarter crowdfunding. And up until that point, I didn't really know much about it, to be honest. And that was my first taste. I think we raised sort of like $30,000. I mean, it was successful. It was a low value item, but it kind of gave me the taste for it. And I thought, wow, this is, there's nothing here that this team could do that I wouldn't fancy having a go at. So that was where I got my eye in, and then I was kind of hooked ever since.
Okay, so you two kind of got together and you worked on the pencil first of all, the Magno pencil.
Yeah.
So describe it to me. Why is it unique? What's the value in the Magno pencil?
So I think one of the key things we wanted to do was take a product and make it better. We didn't have to completely reinvent the wheel. Everybody knows what a pencil is, but sometimes those problems can be ignored. So we found with a lot of the other lead holders that you get for like a 2mm lead, they're quite hard to control the length of the lead itself. So if you're a designer, an architect, and you want to do some shading, you may want to have a longer point at the end of the lead. There's 2 different types of product on the market. So you have the clutch pencils, which release the product, the lead in one go, and you end up adjusting it on the page. And then the incremental one, you go click, 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 and then inevitably you end up adjusting the length. So by having this design, which is our patent pending technology that we developed ourselves in-house, it's a magnetic propulsion system. So on the inside of the pencil itself is a very strong neodymium magnet, and it allows the ferrous outer ring to move the lead very accurately, so you can get maximum control over the length of the lead. And just in itself is just quite a cool feature. I mean, the fact that it's magnetic, it's got that magic element to it, has really kind of brought a lot of our customers on board, and they just like it just because it's quite it's quite a novel product. And you raised
£80,000, over 2,000 backers on that product.
Yeah, incredible feat. I mean, I think people were just, like Ashley said, they were just captivated by the magic of it, and I don't think we would have put all our energy in something that wasn't completely novel. And I think that's what you need to do with crowdfunding. You need to offer the crowd or the tribe something that is really unique, that they can't go and get from Amazon, they can't go get it from a shop. You need to create some value, and then you need to offer that value at a discount for obviously backing us and supporting us in a pre-order type style. So yeah, it was a phenomenal success, which has obviously set us up to be able to do it full time today.
Brilliant.
I think crowdfunding in itself is great, but I think it's the aftermath as well, because you start getting people approach you because it's free advertising really. You're making a lump sum from the actual product itself, but then you have a whole kind of influx afterwards of distributors wanting to get involved, flash sales, different marketing strategies, and that's the real exciting bit actually, is the fulfillment stage. So that's when you kind of open up into new opportunities, even such as talking with yourselves. It's you wouldn't have heard of us if we wouldn't have done these products.
Correct.
So
it opens up a whole new pathway and a new journey to take. Okay.
Exactly.
So the pencil was obviously very successful. You then moved on to the second product, which is the Magno Ink.
Magno Ink, yeah.
So again, give me the key features of what makes this pen so special.
Yeah, so what we tried to understand our market. So what we understood was that the backers were captivated by this motion and the magic of a magnet. So we looked at the pen as a way to obviously provide a complementary product to the people who bought the pencil. So we kind of assessed what was really good about the pencil and tried to influence that with the pen. Obviously, the pen is, it's been really done, and it was quite difficult to innovate. But what we've come up with is this opposing motion, dual magnet dispenser. So basically you pull it apart and then the ink goes the opposite way to the way that you pull it. So it's kind of counterintuitive, and it creates that magic again. And that I think it's the only pen that uses dual magnets to actually actuate the ink. So yeah, we launched that 3 months ago, and again, it was very successful.
Yes, was it 72,000 or something? What did you raise on?
That was 72 on Kickstarter, but again, we've managed to sell a number more outside of Kickstarter, which has been great. And also by doing that, we're going into manufacture stages now, so our price breaks are better, so we can start going on higher volumes as well. So when we manufacture, we're starting to bring in a lot more stock. We've got a lot more confidence that people are going to buy stock if we reinvest. I think the danger is starting a project, finishing it, and then just fulfilling the amount that has been sold. I think actually reinvesting in the company, if you've got belief in your company, you want to build a brand, I think holding stock as well is just essential. That's where the profit needs to be focused.
I interviewed a guy called Jeff Spires, who's the marketing executive of Leo Crowd. They're a reward-based crowdfunding company. And in part of his training, in an interview, he talked about ubiquity, that being really the sweet spot for crowdfunding. An everyday product, someone that knows everything about it. You don't have to, create a need or a demand or understanding for the product. But if you can add something to it, if you can change it, if you can make it, unique, then you're in the real sweet spot of crowdfunding. And I think you guys have done this brilliantly. I mean, what's more common than a pen and pencil? Everyone knows what it is. Yeah. But you have managed to do something that's different, that's attractive, that's interesting, and that obviously is one of the reasons why you've had such tremendous success with it. So you deserve a lot of credit for taking something as basic as a pen and pencil and turning it into something that you've done. So it's fantastic. So you started off your crowdfunding journey. What made you decide, yes, let's take this to crowdfunding route? And did you have any concerns over that?
So it's the reason we went down the crowdfunding route was actually mainly to manage risk. So we had this idea for a product, and because you're held to ransom with the factories wherever you get it manufactured with minimum order quantities, you kind of have a minimum amount that you need to raise to basically be able to put your product into production. So with that in mind, we thought, right, because we were confident it was a great design, but we weren't sure how well it was going to do. So we decided to launch it on Kickstarter, crowdfund it, to basically for 2 reasons: to get feedback from potential customers, to see whether it was a good idea or not, and 2, to actually get pre-sales before we've actually committed a load of capital to manufacturing a product that we didn't know was going to be as successful as it was. So we got those 2 really valuable things from crowdfunding, but I think we went that little bit extra because we were inviting feedback on our design. So features that potentially the customer wanted to see, and in both campaigns we managed to include features that the crowd wanted to see part of our product.
Very interesting.
So it was a really, really amazing journey, and to have that interaction, which you wouldn't ordinarily get from a retail presence.
Yes.
To be able to speak to them firsthand, reply to them instantly, and to be able to say, "That's a great idea. We'd love to feature that." And we'd much rather have a happy customer, and when things go missing or we need to resend things, it's not a second moment's thought. We want to keep the customer happy for believing in us to deliver a product.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting, because one of the reasons we were so keen to get you onto the Masterclass crowdfunding.com was the specialness of the product itself. But it's interesting that what you said there. I mean, some of the 3 things you mentioned were, first of all, management of risk, which is a really good reason to do crowdfunding. You then talked about the sort of pre-testing the product, getting feedback, and then pre-orders. And there are certainly 3 really big wins for reward-based crowdfunding. And it's interesting that you mentioned all of those just in your answer there. So what challenges did you face in the early days and weeks of the campaign that perhaps you weren't expecting? Or was there anything you came across that you kind of thought, right, okay, where do we go with this?
I think just being very, very clear in your message really is because if you think you're appealing to such a large audience, you've only got to get a couple of people a little bit confused by some wording or something that may be implied. For example, we said about having engraving on the products themselves, where we just have a normal logo on the product, but a lot of people kind of require going, oh, can I have my name engraved and this, that, the other. So yeah, I think just being very, very clear and approaching that audience so everybody knows where they stand. I think we've managed to do that pretty well, though. I don't think we had too many points at which we thought we kind of taken a wrong turn, but not that sounds really bad. No, we did everything right. No, it wasn't not like that. I think
so. There's no real areas that give you any tension or cause for concerns at any stage.
I've got one, which is so it's very it's kind of a very fluid thing, crowdfunding, and there's no guarantees. It's almost like you're starting from zero every day. So even though we've raised these massive totals, some days would be less than others, and you'd think, oh, is that a gradual decline on the campaign? And you'd worry, you'd think, right, we need to put more into
self-doubt would set in.
Yeah. And I think that's why our designs have got to where they are, is that self-doubt. And I think you need that as a designer. You need self-doubt to be able to push yourself to be a better designer, because it's never going to be the first design that you nail and you go, done. Oh, let's take the weekend off. Yeah. It's you go, well, that's not quite right. We need to fly out to China. We need to get this perfect, because we've got one shot at pleasing this customer. And it's yeah.
Yeah, I think the doubt's an interesting thing, because I know when I was doing my own research on crowdfunding a couple of years ago and looking at what makes a campaign successful and the different funding journeys. We sometimes talk about the funding chart. Where if a campaign gets 25-30% of its target in the first 2-3 days, it has a 60% chance of being successful. Yeah. If it doesn't reach 60% by the halfway point, chances are it's just not going to be successful. Yeah. And it's understanding that in the middle there's probably going to be a dip, because you've had your launch, your excitement, your euphoria. Yeah. There's going to be a dip where the back end trickles down, and then the question is self-doubt.
I've seen that on not these campaigns. Fortunately, these have been really lucky because we've hit a really strong USP. Yeah. But for the ones where so I created a watch, which was a beautiful watch, really minimalist. But the funding was when you get your projections, it was just about going to hit, and that was nerve-wracking the whole way through the campaign. It was like, how do we drive traffic? How do we get this in front of people? But what I realised was that it was the product for the platform that wasn't quite right. Whereas I say that as in, it was a product that was a fashion item, which was too specific to somebody's taste. Whereas if you've got a pencil or something, you're offering something really unique. It's your taste for a watch is going to differ from what you're going to use to write. So you're going to have you're going to be less picky, or I think the word. You're going to be less
selective.
Yeah, you're going to be less.
Even for the gift market as well, I think I don't think I'll have a lot of confidence in picking out a watch for my wife. I wouldn't know exactly what she wanted. So I think this sort of item as a gift, you can take a bit of a.
It's a wider audience.
It's nice colour.
It's not as niche. It's not as niche.
That's it. Not as the word. And that's what Kickstarter is.
But sometimes that's good. Hidden niche. If there's a gap for it, but there has to be something very specific. There has to be something missing there.
True. Well, the key, talking about audiences and niches, the key in all crowdfunding, but particularly reward-based crowdfunding, is building and engaging and, we would say, nurturing the tribe. So how do you set about doing that to give you this really solid backers community that you now currently have?
I think there's starting off, price point is just absolute key, because you can kill a project almost immediately. You can get unhappy customers. The beauty of crowdfunding and selling direct to the customers, you're basically cutting out the middleman. So if you're not involving a distributor, you then have considerable margins that you wouldn't have normally had if you were involving somebody else. So by selling direct, I think you can either choose to be greedy and soak up that sale, as profit. But I think we don't do that. We would much rather have a happy customer, build a much larger client base, and then the second we go on to our next project, they're gonna want to back us. They're gonna want to follow us as designers, and because they like our products, and they're happy. They received a high quality product at a price that doesn't break the bank. And I think that's the That's the key thing there. And I think secondly is listening to the backers. So very often they because it's very fluid, and as you're running the campaign, you're still making design changes. There's still room for negotiations on things you might add or take away, or just generally improve. And I think by listening to your audience when they put comments, you're very exposed. So it's unlike going to a shop where somebody has a problem, they'll contact you through email or something. It's very visible. You can see people on there. If they're unhappy, everybody knows that they're unhappy. If they're happy, And very often it's only unhappy customers that will ever comment. Everybody that's happy, they don't need to. So fortunately, we haven't had too many of those. But if anybody has suggested design changes and we think actually that could be quite cool, we made a real thing of it. We said we've listened to your feedback, we've made these changes, and here's the new release. And you get an influx of people because you're designing for the customer, it's not for yourself. So if you're designing for the customer, you're getting more people buy into a better product, and you get happy customers that have already invested.
Yeah. So what you're sort of saying to me is it's not just having a tribe that you talk to.
Yeah.
It's having a tribe or a community that you engage with and that you communicate with. Is that a fair summary of it?
Yeah.
And therefore, its information is going both ways.
Definitely. And I think that ties in nicely with our design philosophy, which is making profit should come second to great design.
Yeah, I was going to come on to actually, but I came across that on one of your websites.
Okay, yeah.
And I thought it was quite intriguing. So making profit should always come second to great design.
Yeah.
Is a very interesting statement.
And that's on both products. We've actually had sacrifices where we've had the opportunity to increase our margins, but we haven't. So our latest project, the pen, we've done something which was a world's first, which was actually having an offset mass, but we actually had the offset mass, which was aluminium, and aluminium isn't a very dense material, but we had the opportunity to basically put a brass offset mass, which is probably about 4 times denser than aluminium, which actually makes the product even better, but it would cost us more. But we felt that is very important because this is like a flagship product for the company. Mm-hmm. We're happy to make less money as long as that customer is going to be able to go, no other pen in the world can do this. Isn't that amazing? Put it on the table, and then it doesn't roll away. And it's those changes that I think are really worth spending the money on and providing that excellent service and that excellent product to a customer. You're
clearly very clued in regarding the design of your products. That's obviously your background as designers. You're very clued in regarding your tries and communicating and engaging. You've obviously got experience in crowdfunding. In one sentence each, why do you think these 2 projects have been so successful? That's a tough question, I know, in one sentence.
It is a tough question.
If you can, try and bring it into one sentence.
Yeah, I've got mine. I think it's a very strong USP, doing something that hasn't been done in the planet before, and offering it at a price which is accessible to a wider Kickstarter community.
Okay, good one.
I think using the Kickstarter platform as a go-to point, basically. So it's not a case of just launching on there and then not, doing any advertising. Thinking of clever ways in which you can boost sales, affiliate schemes, trying to drive traffic all the time. I think that's what's good. It's good to have it's much like a website, but it's growing, it's organic, and obviously your success is very visible on there. So you want to make sure that you're absolutely rolling on the first few days. And I think in doing that, first few days you need to kind of build the hype before. So we've gone to lots of blogs, we've gone to people who want to talk about us. We went on the radio and BBC radio, and they started talking about us as designers, and we've gone solo, and we went in the papers for starting our own company and our new studio, and then the second we do that, everybody was there on day one ready to go.
It was almost a brand for yourselves as innovators, designers, and then the projects almost are a secondary thing.
Well, our goal isn't just to move from product to product and forget the actual company brand. We're building our brand. We want to build a company, so that's really important. So.
Leads on to the next obvious question, and I appreciate if you can't answer in any huge detail. I fully understand.
Yeah.
You must have some other exciting projects in the pipeline.
We do.
How much can you tell us, and how much are you allowed to talk about?
We can say that they may have electronics in them.
Okay.
So maybe they're going to have a mechanical aspect, but there's going to be some technology which is using electronics. So that's something as a company we haven't gone into before, but we've
Okay.
got some very cool USPs for this future product.
There we are. You heard it first here in
Yeah.
masterclasscrowdfunding.com.
Sorry,
You heard it
we've
first.
got,
There are new projects on the way.
Yeah.
Brilliant, outstanding.
Yeah, keep an eye out for them.
So if you were to go back to the very start of your crowdfunding journey, so just the last couple of questions, you go back to the very start of your crowdfunding journey and you had no experience in crowdfunding before, it's a new industry, a new way of gaining finance. How much would a platform like ours, masterclasscrowdfunding.com, where we try and explain the basics of crowdfunding and then get into the detail of it, how much would that have helped you as you started your journey?
Well, none of it was available in the beginning, so we've gradually learnt mistakes to get to that point. I think it would have been very, very valuable. Yeah, I think having a go-to point for, you know, knowing how to do these things. There's so much to it. It's not just a case of getting a video, a product, and just launching it on Kickstarter. There's a lot more to it. The beauty of it is you dabble into all aspects. You go into the marketing, manufacture, the whole advertising is really exciting. So I think it would be, you know, a very good platform to be made aware of.
I think for a service like yours that you offer, I think when you're doing a crowdfunding campaign, you really have to be a jack of all trades, because the reason you're going into crowdfunding is to raise money. So 9 times out of 10, you won't have the capital to bring in the expertise that you need. So if you can't bring in the professional expertise that you need, what's second best to that is to educate yourself. So educating yourself through a service like yours is worth its weight in gold. So because when you run a campaign, you really have to understand every single facet of what it takes to run a campaign, and I don't think you can run a successful campaign unless you have your finger on at least all of them, because it just won't work. So to have a source, have a point of education, I think is one of the most powerful tools you can get.
Yeah, even the community aspect of what we're doing, I think, is very powerful. So as much as there's courses there and there's interviews with guys like yourself, it's also that community hub of people that exchange ideas about crowdfunding, what's worked, what hasn't worked, and we feel there's real value in that. For
you
the
tend to
market.
find they're the most passionate people because they're trying to get something off the ground. They're doing something new, something novel. Everybody's fired up.
We like to give back as well. So when people approach us, we like to take the time and offer people advice
and give back.
Give
That's
back
always
it's a community thing. It's
Yeah,
not just
yeah.
You're not just taking the money. It's people that believe in you. You're putting your face to a product. You're putting your face to a brand, and I think it's nice to be able to offer that back to people who are starting out.
That passing of information, sharing of information means that everyone becomes more powerful.
Yes.
And it benefits everybody, which is great. So, okay, last question. If you could go back 2 years before you started your first crowdfunding project and could give yourself one piece of advice for the journey ahead, what would that advice be? So you can go back, Matthew, and talk to yourself. You would say, Matthew,
I think it would be to be made aware of the types of tools out there. So when I started, I wasn't aware of the services that you provided. There are other services out there which we've only just learnt about, which have helped massively. They've brought in revenue. They've helped us with promoting this. So I think it would be to be more open-eyed when it comes to when you start a campaign. There are companies out there that they'll take a cut, but if they're fruitful, then it's you who's managed to get the product into more people's hands. So I think it would be to be more open to working with other companies and to taking more information on board.
Okay, very good.
I think for myself, it was strange starting off with the project before you've even designed anything. Saying that you're going to design something like a pencil, you may think it's quite trivial, and I think very often when you're battling away, you've got the late nights and you're whittling away and just putting all your hours into something, you feel so passionate about it, and then you may talk about it with some people and they kind of go, oh, okay, and it downgrades it a little bit. I think having that belief, you just got to stick with that belief, because the second you start getting knocked off that your goal, I think you can lose track very easily. So I think now it doesn't matter what product it is, it could be anything. I think you just got to believe in it all the way through. And I think I had those hesitating moments, and I think if anything that just slowed me down really. I think
not everybody's like us, are they? Where you say an idea and it's so powerful, you like get so G'd up about it. People can be like, but
yeah, that's
not you got.
But in some ways, that's actually interesting what you say there, because I think what crowdfunding has done has liberated entrepreneurs. Because before, only those that had that incredible single-mindedness in their project, who then managed to get the funding, to have other people believe in them, the banks, the venture capitalists, that was a lot of hurdles to get across.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you weren't single-minded and determined in your idea and believe in it and passionate, you fell by the wayside.
Yeah.
Whereas now people with perhaps not as great a level of passion can bring a level of passion to your project and immediately access the global market via crowdfunding. Okay guys, listen, that was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed that, just sort of getting into your minds and seeing the journey that you've come on. So listen, I really appreciate you taking the time.
Thank you very much.